everybody, Stewart A. Swerdlow here.
And Janet Diane Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the very first week of April 2014. And, quite honestly, there's not much difference in the news from one week to the next anymore because it's always been the same stories repeated and repeated. But the update on the Malaysia Airline Flight 370 is that this week, a Chinese ship in the southern Indian Ocean picked up 3 pings. Now, I thought maybe they were Chinese last names, and they picked them up in the rowboat. Ping 1, ping 2, whatever. But they said they heard 3 pings from underneath the ocean in the same general area, and they are saying perhaps that's from the black box or flight recorder. And but others have cautioned that such sounds can travel very far underneath the water, and they could be from really anything. They could be from a submarine, it could be from all different kinds of possibilities. But isn't it interesting that here we are in the last couple of days, because the black box recorder or transmission is supposed to stop in 30 days, and we're at that point now.
But do you believe that?
Well, I think that it's very interesting how there's always some drama. It's almost like watching a series, a mystery series, and at the end of the season, there's this dramatic episode where something shocking happens, and then there's a cliffhanger.
Well, even the officials are saying now that there could be survivors. So I mean, from one minute they're telling everybody that everybody's dead, to the next minute maybe there are survivors.
Dead,
So
yeah, there was the pilot. It was a mechanical failure. It was a fire. It was the aliens. It was a vortex. I mean, pick one of the above. The bottom line is they're just lying, as always. And as far as pings, I hear pings all the time. They're in my head. Who knows where they come from? So
ping 1, ping 2, ping 3.
Ping 1, yeah. It's so funny the Chinese heard ping. Anyway,
That's
I just could not.
Thing 1, thing 2.
I couldn't resist.
A thing and a ping.
As you know, I'm not politically correct. I make fun of everybody, and so. But they make fun of me too, so
do you make fun of you?
It's only fair.
Do you make fun of you?
I make fun of myself because everybody else does. So what's the difference? Anyway, next part of the news. What's going all over the internet? Of course, former President Clinton appeared on the Jimmy Kimmel show and said that he would not be surprised if aliens appeared. He said, of course, that doesn't mean I believe that there's aliens, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were, right. So everyone's picking up on that and saying that that's a clue that in 30 to 60 days, there's going to be the staged alien invasion. And they're bringing up the old stories, which I've already told you about many times, about Ronald Reagan in 1987 saying that at the United Nations that if the world was threatened from the outside, the Russians and the Americans and everybody would have to work together to fight off the aliens. And then they're bringing up also, and you'll see it on the link, that Wernher von Braun on his deathbed said that the plan was to have the common threat of the Russians, then when that was over, to use terrorists, when that was overdone, to use asteroids and meteors hitting the Earth, and the final threat would be aliens, and that's what we're up to right now.
And of course, you talked about the Pope and aliens last week on our podcast, which was fascinating information.
Right.
Hope you watched that.
And and if I just may go to a related story, which I think is very interesting, and that is Fox News reported that a company in Florida has invented flying saucers for people to use. And they said it is the future of aviation, and that 2014 will see saucers in the sky. They already have a 2-man version, which is going to be available to the public and doesn't cost any more than a car. So I want to get one.
It's be interesting now to see what happens.
I'll get my saucer, and then I can go anywhere I want. I don't have to worry about immigration or security, and I'll just fly wherever I want to go.
Well, then again, then we won't be able to tell the real things from the fake things.
But here's the thing: how do you fit that in your garage?
I guess you have to have a new garage, or maybe it just hovers above your house and it beams you up.
No, but then that takes energy. I probably just have to land it in the ravine or something.
Well, maybe it doesn't take energy; it's free energy. It probably just hangs in the air above your house. And when you need it, it beams you up.
No, I hang in the air above the house. I don't
So
think
be easy.
The flying saucer should be doing that.
Maybe it parks on your roof.
So anyway, moving along. This is one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, you have one?
Yeah, it's a favorite.
I hope it's not one I have.
You know what? And if it is, I'm usurping it. There's a British TV show called Dead Famous DNA.
No, that's not my story.
That is a really great name for a TV show. Dead Famous DNA. Leave it to the British. But then again, they can't even get their teeth straight.
Who would want to watch a Dead Famous DNA?
Well, but it's interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because apparently, they took hair samples from Hitler's wife, Eva Braun's hair comb that a soldier had picked up at the Berlin bunker.
Supposedly.
And guess what the DNA said?
Oh.
The DNA information came back that she was Jewish.
That's in your DNA.
Now, Uncle Adi would never have approved of anything like that.
I thought Judaism was a religion, not a race.
Well, no, it's genetic. And apparently she was brought up Catholic, but according to this article, many Jews in Germany in the 1800s converted to Catholicism in order to fit in. And Hitler actually did do a background check on her and said that she was an Aryan. So obviously in those days they didn't have DNA analysis like we do now. I mean, Hitler would be rolling over, and his mustache. I mean, his daughter Angela, she must be like flipping.
But how do they make?
Because that's her stepmother.
But how do they make a television show out of this? Doesn't make
well,
any
as part of
sense.
the TV show anyway. Apparently, Eva Braun was Jewish, but here's the interesting. She met him when she was 17, and he was 40. So is that pedophilia?
I would say so.
Yeah. So he didn't marry her till she was like much older than that. But then they supposedly killed each other or committed suicide.
Supposedly.
We know that's not true.
Right.
Anyway, now to another story which I found, because I don't have as many stories as you.
Because mine are more interesting.
Yeah. Because you go to these very weird sites that I don't even know exist. Anyway, they are now saying, some conventional, some non-conventional, that Yellowstone eruption is possible, Yellowstone caldera volcano here in the U.S. Why? Because of all of the videos showing the buffalo running and fleeing and running away from the park. Now there have been a couple of moderate quakes, the biggest quakes they've had in a long time. The ground in parts of the Yellowstone Park have lifted up more than 10 inches over the last few years. And the government is downplaying this because they don't want to scare anybody. And I put this, so you'll see this on the link, that if there was a serious eruption, it would destroy most of North America and the United States. So better get your volcano umbrellas. They said that in the area around Yellowstone and even most of the Rockies and parts of the Midwest, ash could be like 10 feet deep. You had that in your farm, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah.
It wasn't 10 feet deep, but we had a lot. It was a couple feet in places.
Yeah.
A lot of ash.
So how does that disappear? I mean, the rain washes
it doesn't.
away. So how do you grow anything?
The wind blows it away. You really can't. It's like cement to concrete.
Really?
It's very challenging. People's roofs were caving in. They had to get it off their roofs. I mean, it ruined
but
cars.
But doesn't it make the ground more fertile? Because they say the volcanic ash, like...
maybe over time, but it doesn't break down like everything else. Remember, they used that to make glass. A lot of people did glass from it.
Yeah,
pottery
we have cups from there.
Pottery glazes,
yeah. And then my final story, there is an online show called The Common Sense Show. It's a good name for a show. And they are stating that President Obama is part of a Soviet plot to destroy the U.S.
Oh, surprise, surprise. You've said that since the beginning.
I said that years ago. And they even show how Obama is backed by the U.S. Communist Party. My grandfather and his brother, they'd be so proud of Obama.
That's possible. Or maybe not. Maybe he's not carrying out their agenda adequately. We don't know.
Well, I think he is. And anyway, so that's what I have for now.
All right.
Until the end.
So you want to hear my fascinating news?
Yeah, I can just imagine what it's about.
Well, the first one is about the FBI. The FBI is seizing artifacts in Indiana.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Now, this one's all over the internet, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's obviously got to be something else going on here. Because they have this gentleman who's 91 years old, PhD. He has collected artifacts for the last 80 years on his world travels. So they brought in tanks and all kinds of things.
Yeah, because he's dangerous at 91.
Well, apparently they think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple of interesting things. At the bottom of the article, they say that this person was involved in the creation of the atomic bomb. So we really don't know why they're seizing his artifacts and what they're really looking for and what the cover story is. I mean, there could be alien artifacts in there they're looking for.
Also, because they said they had a mummy that no one could touch.
Or take pictures of.
And if you saw the pictures, they surrounded his house in these tents.
Yes.
And that reminded me of that, I forgot what alien movie where they're bringing the alien out and they had to cover everything up with tents to get the thing out.
So people can't see.
Yeah.
And the military trucks, and the same thing even when we were in Suriname, remember, they raided the cave for 7 years and people didn't know what was coming out of that cave. So there's lots more going on to this than meets the eye, and I doubt, again, that we'll ever know, but it's the other interesting thing is, which we have noticed through the last few years of our travels, is they're warning people about taking artifacts, even rocks, away from what they would call like sacred sites, and
or just national beaches or anything.
Anything, and the issue is because those things hold frequency, and the frequencies are what the global handlers use to create their global rituals. So anyway, watch for more of this, that just come onto your property and seize artifacts, you know, and nobody's questioning it, nobody's protesting, the man's not under arrest.
He's not?
No. They said that he has done no wrongdoing.
Then why did they take his stuff away if he didn't do anything wrong?
Well, isn't that interesting?
Who ratted him out?
Isn't that interesting? I think all those are very interesting questions, but I think those have ramifications beyond what we know here for the general populace.
Well, if anybody wants to come and seize my artifacts, they gotta find them.
Yeah, well, there we go.
And you know where my artifacts are?
No, I don't know, and I don't know that I want to know. Anyway, speaking of, I said radiation to follow the guy with the atomic bomb. All of you, of course, are aware of our interview with the Aradia couple. Well, there was an interesting study that may help to prove what they are saying, that radiation is actually good for you, because there is a new study in the Chernobyl area about trees that are 30 years old that are barely decomposed.
I saw that.
Now, there was a professor from the University of South Carolina involved in the study, and he said, quote, "If a tree had fallen in my backyard, it would be sawdust in 10 years or so. But years later, these tree trunks were in pretty good shape," unquote. So then what they did is they went out into the forest and they gathered up what they call leaf litter. That's all the stuff in the bottom of the forest that should be decomposing. Apparently, this stuff is not decomposing. So what they did is they gathered up a bunch of the leaf litter. They put it in pantyhose because apparently that screens out bugs, I guess. And
among other things.
Among other things. They distributed it around Chernobyl, and then they waited 9 months. And they found out that the most contaminated areas showed 40% less decomposition. And this is what Aradia couple were saying. They were saying that radiation is good for you and actually enhances and builds the structure.
So you know what? We should open a restaurant with them.
With the decontaminated...
With radiation food.
Well, who knows, maybe at some point we will. We never know sometimes what's happening in our life. But anyway, the reason that they claim that they're doing their study is they're concerned that because the leaf litter is building up, that it could become a source of fire in the near future.
Yeah, I got some leaf litter building up right now underneath me.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. Okay, here we are, next subject, Mars. Mind control on Mars, believe it or not. Because beginning the end of March, so it's already started, 6 researchers, 3 men, 3 women, were handpicked supposedly out of 700 participants to move into a 1,000 square foot dome to prepare for future manned long-duration mission to, quote, places such as Mars. This is going to be, or I guess it's existing now, in the big island of Hawaii.
Yeah, because that looks like Mars.
Well, that's what they claim because of the volcanic soil.
Right, with palm trees and beaches.
Okay, now
this is like Mars to me.
This is what's so interesting to me, because the researchers want to know, quote, what happens to the mind of people when, or what happens, let me quote this correctly, what happens to the mind when people are stuck in close confinement for extended periods of time?
Well, they should take a look at me in that
case,
for free.
Listen to me, they could do a prison study. They don't have to put these researchers out. If this is what they're doing, they're going to have these people do a bunch of psychological tests to see how the mind changes over time. So to me, I'm thinking, well, it has to do with mind control, obviously.
That's why I wore that shirt today.
Yeah, it has to do with mind control. Anyway, this study is funded, of course, by NASA, arranged by the University of Hawaii, and they're also going to be working on testing. Now, this also is odd to me. They're going to be testing 3D printed surgical tools. Why do they need surgical tools, these people out there? There's giving growing plants in harsh conditions, okay, and
Hawaii is harsh condition.
on the volcanic soil, and then repurposing trash into useful commodities. This is what they're going to do for 4 months. They're really going to do, I know they're going to do some kind of mind control.
No, they should be coming right here in my backyard and working on that stuff.
Well, anyway, mind control on Mars, that's my opinion.
Wait till they get there, a big surprise for them.
Then we have multiverse. Now this is a new term, for me anyway. That's
I've heard that before.
I didn't mean today, but I mean in the last few years. I didn't grow up with learning about multiverses in my science class at school. Now they're talking about that the idea may have originated with philosophers in the Middle Ages, and they have found a 13th century Latin text called De Luce, which means on light, by Robert Grosseteste.
Hey, watch your language.
That's the best I can do to pronounce it. Anyway, when they ran his theories through computers, apparently they're claiming this is supporting the current day debate on the multiverse. Now, the multiverse debate today among physicists, they're very excited because guess what? Of all places, in Antarctica, they came up with one of their experiments, and what the experiment was, they don't tell us, but quote, it imprints the cosmic microwave background, which is the oldest light in the universe, dating from shortly before the Big Bang.
I had a Big Bang this morning.
That appears to have been caused by gravitational waves rippling through the fabric of space-time in the early universe.
That happens to me daily.
Okay, but here we are talking about the primordial ripples in space-time. And this theory I just read you is actually called inflation, believe it or not. And it talks about the multiverse floating many universes like bubbles in a glass of champagne. All this is a result of work again at the South Pole that continues to be in the news.
Sounds like a happening place.
The multiverse is again coming up. We're talking parallel universes, worlds within worlds.
Hello.
All kinds of things. They're making this more public all the time. And then on the heels of this story, I just wanted to mention that I read that NASA is cutting ties with the Russians because of the Crimea event.
Well, that'll teach them.
But the interesting thing is they're not cutting ties on the space station.
Because they need them for that.
But the point being is, you're going to cut. That's right. It's all a show. That's the point.
I wasn't going to use that word, but yes.
It's a show. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the next story about Venezuela issuing ID cards to supposedly curtail food hoarding.
Yeah, I heard that.
Now my feeling is that this is just a cover story to attract people, and it's a way of experimenting with a specific population. And of course, it's a big debate because the cards are going to be voluntary. But if you do get a card, then you get discounts, and you also are entered into raffles for cars and homes.
Okay.
For buying groceries. Now I remember a story we reported on about a year or maybe 18 months ago. It had to do with people here in the U.S. being singled out as terrorists if they had more than 2 weeks worth of food on hand in their homes. Do you remember that?
And if they pay cash for things.
Well, but this was specifically about food. Because the reason is people like us, where we buy for a big family, we buy in bulk a lot of times. Yes, I have a lot of things that maybe we could survive for a month on. Stuffed in my freezer and in buckets around the house. So, but this I thought was interesting because this is a way, again, they're not going to issue it and say you have to have an ID card. People are going to line up for the ID card. And the Venezuelans, of course, think this is a good idea. At least that's what they're reporting on the news. Privately, of course, like all things, you have to go there.
Sounds like they're crackers in Caracas.
There's lots of things going on in Caracas. Now, then here about food, the Queen gives the Pope.
Yes.
Did you read that one? 18 items from all our estates. Now, to me, that sounded like a ritual.
See, if we could only give him one item, because we only have one estate.
We only have one estate. Yeah. What kind of?
No, we live in the estate of Michigan.
That's correct. 18 items included 2 types of honey, Coronation Best Bitter, Granddad's chutney, soap.
Who's Granddad?
They don't tell us.
When they have locked in the dungeon?
Oh, they don't tell us that either. A bottle of whiskey, a dozen eggs, and beer. Now, that's just amongst them. But to me, this sounds like they're setting up something for some kind of a ritual because she's bringing something to the Pope, 18 items. So,
which is in the ancient Kabbalah, that means good luck.
yes.
Number 18. And also remember that the Vatican, I believe it was in 1213, because they couldn't pay their debts to the Vatican, gave all their possessions to the Vatican to own. It's in one of my books, and under the condition that the British royal family can then administer it forevermore. So she's probably just paying him tax.
Something. It's just some kind of representative of something. Now, in return...
She should have given him little Prince George.
Well, in return, listen to this. The Pope gave her a sphere of lapis lazuli, which is, of course, a deep blue semi-precious stone, topped with a silver cross of St. Edward. Now, to me, I was thinking a sphere of lapis lazuli. Perhaps that's representing outer space.
Maybe.
And the cross could be the slave mentality of those people that Prince George is going to rule.
So he gave that as a gift to
He gave that back to the Queen to take back.
Because that is a really good baby gift.
Well,
so the baby could play with that all the time.
Yeah, well, that's what she said. Well, he'll enjoy this when he gets older.
Yeah.
So, but it's
Meanwhile,
obviously...
she's going to like sit on it and roll around on it. I know the Queen's going to do that.
Well, I was just thinking about what we were talking about before.
Because she's not amused.
Put it other places. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. So she gave him something, he gave her something back.
It's so sweet.
It's
really,
very ritual. It's ritualistic. Then now here we go. Now this is a trend, and I don't want you jumping on the bandwagon. It's for men.
I have to jump on something.
Okay, the new trend for men, it says, are high heels.
Well,
That took your breath away.
what if you don't wear pants?
High heels, and then you can see your heels better.
Well,
And so
especially I don't have pants on.
they
They
show-
focused on my heels.
First of all, they show men with some of the boots, that some of those boots have some heels on them, the men's stuff. But these are like the high spiky
Really?
things.
Really?
Yeah.
For men?
Yeah, for men.
Who's wearing that?
Oh, men.
Really?
Men, can I say? All right, so then the next trend that you want to be aware of, and again, I found this one interesting. Well, they're always interesting to me, that's why I report on them. The new game in middle school is called the Eraser Challenge, where they rub their skin with an eraser on the end of a pencil, and they do say the alphabet from A to Z. They say a word starting with the letter of each of the alphabet. And then at the end, who can do the most damage to their skin. And then they pass the eraser around, I guess, so it has body tissue from one to another. But I'll tell you what this reminds me of. If you think of mind control, what is an eraser? If you're erasing yourself, right? And imprinting yourself with self-mutilation, slave mentality.
And the teachers allow this to go on?
Well, supposedly not. Because they're trying to figure out, the kids are trying to see who gets the worst injury. So
that's brilliant. That really gives me hope for the future.
Doesn't it though?
That
Isn't
those
that
children will one day be the rulers.
Yeah, well, not these kids, because these are probably public school kids. I don't think they allow these games in, like we talked about, the elite schools. Those are the people that are trained to be the global handlers. But anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting, this new way of mind control. I mean, they're resetting their own programs every time they do it. That they're erasing the self.
Interesting.
Okay, and my last story you love, because I know you love this topic more than any of the others I talk about, and it has to do with poop. Okay, the first poop story...
I should have erased that story.
It doesn't go away. So the first poop story has a brief one. I don't think I included...
There's more than one?
Well, there is. I didn't include the link, but they unearthed in some excavation somewhere a 700-year-old latrine, and in the latrine they had barrels, and they said the poop still smelled. And they made a big article. I'm thinking, this is beyond bizarre.
Maybe there was radiation and it kept it preserved.
Why do we need to know this stuff? But then here was another article. This I can remember now. But anyway, there's an article. You research it, people will find it. 700-year-old poop in barrels stinks. They'll find it.
I want to know what country that was in.
Probably the UK, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I was just about to.
I think that's what it was. But anyway, listen to
Why
this.
Why didn't she give that as a gift to the Pope?
Well, that would have been good for a ritual.
Poop for the Pope.
Poop for the Pope. Pope poop. Okay, here we go. Moxie dolls. Moxie dolls have pet unicorns that poop rainbows. Can't make it up, right?
Where do you find these things? That's what I want to know.
The package actually has this little doll with a little unicorn, and it says on the design, you're turning red.
I just can't believe it.
I poop rainbows. It says it on the package for kids. It says it has parents puzzled. And then it shows the back end of a unicorn with the rainbow poop coming out of it. So I have a theory, of course.
Yes.
You have a theory?
Well, it reminded me of last week when I wore my rhinoceros backside. Maybe he could have had
rainbow poop. Well, that might be an idea. Okay, here's my thought. Well, we all know that rainbows have to do with, of course, moving from one reality to another, correct? You know, like somewhere over the rainbow, you know, all that.
Wizard of Oz program.
That's right. So they're not only instilling that, but you want to remember my brony, was it the brony post? Where they, can't remember what they call the butt plug? That had the,
I don't remember those things, and I don't want to be reminded of
that had the tail. So now that we've got the tail going on, now where people stick it in there during intimate times, I guess. Now we've got the rainbow poop. So in my mind, I'm thinking what they're, you know, one of the things in New World religion is that they want to promote is anal sex. And they're talking about that, so they have to take the stigma off of, excuse me, your butthole. So they're going to make it be pretty now instead of old disgusting stinky stuff. It's going to be a rainbow. So when you poop, you have a rainbow and you go to a different reality.
Need to stop.
And you're going to participate in some of these rituals.
No, you're going to maybe participate. I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing this either. But, you know, it's just the things that they're putting out there are so bizarre that you've got to start kind of thinking about how, okay, this is what they're doing. There has to be a reason. So I go and I look at that frequency and, hey, this is what I'm getting. I mean, somewhere over the rainbow. So, and then, you know what?
Now, would Judy Garland think like that?
But listen to me. What if then next thing they give kids food that when they do poop, it makes colors come out? Colored poop.
Honestly, really, you need to stop thinking.
And then they can sing their Somewhere Over the Rainbow song, and they'll go into another reality. And that's it. That's the theory. It's a good one. Stick with me, and I will tell you the trends, and I will interpret the trends, and I will teach you to interpret the trends.
I am really so embarrassed. I'm really sorry, people, about that. I had no idea.
Just embarrassed that you don't have rainbow.
That she would say a story like that.
In fact, I may have to slip that colored dye into your food, and let's see how excited you get when you get rainbow poop.
First of all, I am incorruptible,
well,
so I don't do things like that.
Do you know what color it is today?
Anyway, I don't know why, but this reminded me of a story I forgot to mention. And that is in Pakistan that they arrested a 9-month-old baby for attempted murder. No,
because he was with his father at the time and a group of other people.
He's still 9 months old, okay?
I know. They're just trying to show how ridiculous certain things are.
And this is a country that we support and give money to.
You're just trying to take the focus away from my story.
Yes, I am.
Which is so much better than your story.
Because, you know, babies poop.
Yes.
You know, and so...
Yeah, and it could be rainbow poop because they do come out in different colors from babies.
Well, they use a lot of spices in Pakistan. It's possible that it's like that.
Just be on the lookout. Look behind you next time you are done eating because you just never know.
People, I am so sorry, really. I just had no idea. But anyway, yeah, so you want to tell them about future things, or are you done with that? Or
well, I'm just so excited about rainbow poop now. What can I say? Okay, how about finding your frequency? Besides, you know, you can do that too. April, we're just a couple weeks away from our Spring Healing Conference on finding your frequency, where we teach you to go in and explore where in the God mind you come from.
Maybe they came from rainbows.
Maybe. And we're going to look at all those things. That's going to be a great seminar. And then you are in Japan in May. That's also going to be fabulous. And some of the research you're doing is going to be incredible.
And I'll be irradiated.
You'll be irradiated. You're going to find out the truth about radiation.
And then I will come back. I'll be perfectly preserved forever.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. And then in June, you will be going back to New York City to an event at the Meta Center. So please watch for that on your calendars. Please be sure you sign up on our mailing list, which is on the homepage of our website if you have not done that yet. And also on our Facebook page, be sure you like our pages, pass everything around.
I'm glad you brought up that kind of stuff, if I may, because I just want to make some of you out there, I appreciate all of you who have signed up as members on our site, but I need to reiterate that Q&A and the comments form is not for questions about products and services. It's about information general to the public about the work that we do, not about what goes on behind the scenes. So
well, that goes to customer support at expansions.com.
That goes to customer support at expansions.com. You have a problem with the DVDs or videos, or you want to know about pricing. It's not a Q&A. It's not a comments form, okay? And also, this is not a place to put your personal consultation questions on there either. Someone sent in like a 2-page story about what's going on. I'm like, no.
So this is for information. Be sure, if you have not purchased your True World History book yet, now is the time to do that, because this printing is also getting low again, which means
I can have a new printing and add the chapter on rainbow poop.
There you go. We can do it with pictures, because after all, there are colored pictures in this book.
That's right.
So we have lots of things coming. We have more things and events that we will be announcing within a couple of weeks, letting you know what else is going on, because we always have stuff going on here.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of days with Stewart left if you are interested, because his schedule fills up very, very quickly, and of course he needs time to do the reports beforehand, which take him about 3 days. It's a very intense personal retreat, and if one day is not enough and you spend all your time and energy to get here, we also have extended personal retreats, which some people from time to time do take advantage of, depending upon if we can work it into your busy schedule.
Yeah.
So lots of stuff going on here at expansions.com. We always appreciate your joining us, your support of us and our work, and most importantly, your support of your own work. So do what you need to do, because changing you changes the world, and then the world has to reflect that back. So isn't that deep?
Very, very good.
Very deep.
And for someone who's talking about the things you talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just never know.
Yeah, it's something you must have gone into an altar.
Maybe.
Anyway, I guess that's it for now, and
You could sing somewhere over the rainbow.
I could, but then I might have to stand up, and I'm wearing my heels and no pants, and it would not be a pretty sight for many of them.
Well, we'll just quickly flash down to your shoes.
Well, that's especially, you know.
That's a special?
Yeah, it's.
I have to pay extra for that.
Yeah, Anyway, before this really gets out of hand, goodbye for now.
Bye.